Drug bust in Chippewa County.
New UP company. Hi, I'm Ann Ludwig.
And I'm Samantha Carter, and this is your Public Eye News. The Tri-County Drug Enforcement Task Force busted a heroin opiate ring in Chippewa County that resulted in the arrest of 4 individuals on Saturday, October 22nd. Officers conducted a search of a Maple Street residence in Sault Ste. Marie following an ongoing investigation. Authorities believe the drugs were being moved from to Sault Ste. Marie from downstate. 28-year-old Edward Willis Jr., 26-year-old Adam Glaser, 29-year-old Curtis Bunny, and 24-year-old Kristen Fike, in addition to other offenses, were charged with possession of heroin. Trident anticipates more arrests in the near future. And as of 9:45 p.m. last night, a 13-year-old Iron County girl that was missing had been found. Cheyenne Marie Hookston of Caspian was last seen by her mother before bed at approximately 10 p.m. Monday night. The Iron County Sheriff's Office reached out to the public for help finding Hookston yesterday evening.
As the Upper Peninsula Power Company tries to establish themselves as a new company, customers are facing a spike in rates that many say they cannot afford. UPCO argues their high electric costs are due to various factors, including problems with the new billing system and how rural the UP is. Because of new utility territories set by the government, customers can't switch providers without moving. The company says they are currently in the process of executing new capacity contracts, which can result in the annual savings of $8 million per year starting in 2018. The presidential election is just 12 days away, and local governments want to make sure voting is as convenient for residents as possible. If you are over 60, work outside the voting district, are registered in, or expect to be out of town on election day, then an absentee ballot might be for you. So far, Marquette City has issued more than 2,000 absentee ballots with a 67% return rate, which they expect will increase. Residents can get absentee ballots all the way up to Monday, November 7th, but they are due that day at 4 p.m. If interested, ask the clerk at your local township or city.
Oakland County announced that they had decided in June not to purchase the Palace of Auburn Hills for $384 million from owner Tom Gores. The deal would have required $270 million in bonds to allow for the purchase. However, the arena's value is only about $17 million and the land surrounding it only about $8.8 million. However, the property would not produce enough revenue to be worth the investment. And a Michigan dentist gave a TED Talk last week in an effort to humanize Syrian refugees. Teresa Hudges, who practices in Muskegon, spent 10 days in July as a member of the Flying Dentist Association, providing dental services to Syrian refugees camped in Jordan. Her talk, Meeting Humanity in the Face of Syrian Refugees, told the stories of several refugees that just wanted to be able to go home. And after the break, we'll be back with your national and international news. Stay tuned.
I've been around the world, but there's one place I keep coming back to. And the more I explore, the more I realize it's the place to be. I'm Tom Dalton, and this is Under the Radar, Michigan.
Thursday evening at 9:30 on Public TV 13.
And welcome back. Donald Trump's campaign is defending his decision to spend campaign time promoting his business in the final days of his campaign. His poll numbers continue to sink, but Trump is sending his running mate, Mike Pence, to rally support in Utah, a state that hasn't backed a Democratic president in 52 years. His campaign manager defended the break to open his new Washington hotel, arguing that Hillary Clinton took time off to prepare for the debates. Speaking of Clinton, she has turned most of her focus to the election period and unifying the country once again after this controversial race. And thousands of soldiers ordered to return bonuses are getting a reprieve from the Pentagon after outrage from Congress. Brooke Silva Braga has the latest from New York.
Defense Secretary Ash Carter announced a pause in the Pentagon's effort to collect bonuses that were improperly given to some California National Guard members, writing, "While some soldiers knew or should have known they were ineligible for benefits they were claiming, many others did not. We will provide a process that puts as little burden as possible on any soldier who received an improper payment through no fault of his or her own." During the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, soldiers were offered generous incentives to re-enlist, including bonuses and student loan forgiveness. The Pentagon says it asked at most 6,500 California Guard soldiers for repayments. The Guard says about $22 million has been collected so far from 2,000 soldiers.
It's absolutely dumbfounding.
Robert Richmond served in Afghanistan and Iraq. When he didn't pay back a $15,000 bonus, he says the Guard reported the debt to credit agencies.
It felt like betrayal. It was depressing, and I want nothing more than to not resolve it for myself, but resolve it for every soldier that's got that recoupment letter.
House Speaker Paul Ryan called it an injustice. The House Oversight Committee announced an investigation, and Congress is promising to pass legislation to help. The Pentagon's decisions on each case are due in July. Brooke Silva Braga for CBS News, New York.
The United States is becoming more lenient in its treatment of Cuba. The U.S. announced yesterday that it would abstain for the first time in 25 years on a UN resolution condemning the American economic embargo against Cuba. U.S. Ambassador Samantha Power said that abstaining does not mean the U.S. condones all of the policies of the Cuban government. And Iraqi special forces are deploying around the suburbs of Mosul ahead of a push to retake the city from ISIS. U.S.-led troops are moving civilians away from the front lines. CBS's Holly Williams has the latest from northern Iraq.
10 miles from Mosul, these Kurdish forces have the town of Bashika surrounded.
There's a black ISIS flag.
These refugees are fleeing a nearby village where they lived under ISIS for 2 years. They deprived us of everything, said this man. There was only praying, getting up, praying, and that's it. Around 9,000 people have fled their homes since this offensive began, according to the UN. There are fears already that ISIS fighters could use the exodus to escape or launch terror attacks. At this camp, housing some refugees from Mosul, they separate the men on arrival to interrogate them. These men told us they welcome it because they fled here to be safe. But Ahmet, who came from Hawija to the south, is accused of being an ISIS fighter. He admits that his father and 2 brothers joined the extremists, but is adamant that he did not.
Why did you flee now? Why not before?
We heard there was an amnesty for people, even if they had family members in ISIS, he said. So I came to find out.
Ahmet will only be allowed to join the other refugees if he can prove that he's innocent. Planting its fighters amongst desperate people in order to wreak more violence is a tactic that ISIS will find hard to resist. Holly Williams, CBS News, Northern Iraq.
Airstrikes in Syria killed up to 22 people today when a warplane struck a residential area housing a school complex. According to activists, the rescue workers, many of the casualties are children, and 50 or more are wounded. The Idlib News Network said the death toll could rise as some of the wounded were reported to be in critical condition. A witness said that as many as 10 airstrikes were believed to have hit this area. And stay tuned because after the break, we will have your weather and sports.
Every weekday, all over the world, families start the day by getting kids ready to go out the door and off to school. But the way our children travel to school is not the same. In mountainous and rural areas where children would have to walk more than an hour to school, the Japanese government provides school buses. But that adds up to only 2% of all Japanese elementary students. All of the rest walk.
And welcome back to Public Eye News. I'm Ann Ludwig. As you can see behind me, it's cloudy and cold, but it's not CMU and snowing, so grab a coat if you're going outside. Our current conditions, it is mostly cloudy, a temperature of 43, winds are east-southeast at 15 miles per hour, and our pressure is 30.40 inches and falling. Tonight we're looking at some rain, a low of 37, and winds east at 12 miles per hour. And tomorrow it's cloudy, a high of 46, and winds are going to be east-northeast at 6 miles per hour. Let's look at across the UP. Here in Sault Ste. Marie is 37 and partly sunny, 43 in Manistee and partly sunny, 45 in Escanaba and cloudy, and 43 and some rain in Menominee. Over here in Iron Mountain, it is 40 and raining. Ironwood, it is 40 and raining. 45 in Houghton and partly sunny, and back in Marquette, 41 and cloudy. Let's take a look at your week ahead. On Friday, a high of 54, low of 48, and some showers in the morning. On Saturday, a high of 54, low of 38 and cloudy, and on Sunday, a high of 48, low of 40 and cloudy. So Julie, the weather isn't looking too great, but I hear we have some exciting basketball news.
Yeah, we do. Thank you. The Detroit Pistons will start this season tonight against the Toronto Raptors. Detroit is starting the season without starting point guard Reggie Jackson, who will miss the first month of the season due to knee tendonitis. The Pistons improved their team by acquiring some veteran pieces in John Lure, Boban Marjanovic, and Ish Smith. They also drafted Henry Ellison and Michael Benajay in the June draft. The Pistons made the playoffs last season for the first time in 6 years and finished with a 44-38 record. Tonight's game starts at 7:30 from the Air Canada Centre in Toronto and will be on Fox Sports Detroit. And Detroit Red Wings won their 5th straight game over the Carolina Hurricanes last night with a score of 4-2. On Dylan Larkin bobblehead night at Joe Lusovina, Larkin scored his first 2 goals of the season. Thomas Vanek and Andreas Athanasiou also scored for the Wings. Peter Mrazek made 29 saves on 31 shots for Detroit. Detroit is now 5-2-0 to start the season and are back on the road to face the St. Louis Blues tomorrow. And now to the World Series, where the Cleveland Indians shut out the Chicago Cubs 6-0 last night. Indians catcher Roberto Perez hit 2 home runs, while shortstop Francisco Lindor added 3 hits. Indians starting pitcher Corey Kluber struck out 9 over 6 innings. The Game 1 winner has taken the World Series and led 6 series in 17 of 19. Game 2 is tonight with a pitching matchup featuring Jake Arrieta for the Cubs and Trevor Bauer for the Indians. It has been raining today in Cleveland and is expected to keep raining throughout tonight's game, and first pitch is at 7 p.m. tonight on Fox. So, Ann, something from the World Series happened that sort of made some people very excited next week.
Yeah, let me tell you about it. Not just Cleveland fans can thank shortstop Francisco Lindor for stealing second base in the bottom of the first inning in last night's World Series opener against the Chicago Cubs. Well, everyone except for Cubs fans. Taco Bell is offering customers free tacos for everyone next week due to the Steal a Base, Steal a Taco promotion. Participating Taco Bell locations will hand out free Doritos Locos Tacos to fans on November 2nd from 2 to 6 p.m. And Ace Busch says it has completed a world's first commercial shipment by self-driving truck. The company set a beer-filled tractor trailer on a journey over 120 miles through Colorado. The Auto brand truck loaded with Budweiser began the self-driving trip Thursday. The company says a professional truck driver was on board for an entire route just in case anything went airy. Well, both of those stories are pretty crazy. I'm definitely going to make my way to Taco Bell and get a taco next week.
Definitely. Well, that's all the time we have for you today here at Public Eye News. Tune in again tomorrow.
The preceding program was produced in studios located in the Edgar L. Hardin Learning Resources Center by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television.